Greetings, Shadow Sprites. I'm Seraphina Shadowgrave, and today I'm doing something that may be slightly dangerous for me emotionally. I have my friend here who is a classically trained musician and composer, and she has never listened to the Undertale soundtrack. The soundtrack by Toby Fox is one of my favorite video game soundtracks ever. Undertale is such an important game to me personally, and she will be going into this completely blind. Zero nostalgia, no attachment, no context, just classical training and honest opinions. So I'm very curious, is she going to appreciate it as much as I do? Or am I about to have my favorite soundtrack roasted right in front of me? And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, such as listening to the Deltarune soundtrack and to Vocaloid music, please consider subscribing. I'm so close to 100 subscribers. So, I'm going to be showing my friend here the Undertale soundtrack, which she has never heard before. You don't know anything about Undertale, right? Nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Cool. We are going into this absolutely blind. I will give you a very quick synopsis or summary of what the game is about. So it's an RPG. It's like a pixel style. You play as this character named Frisk, and you're like a little kid, and you end up falling down into the underground where there's a bunch of monsters. And you can choose to
Terrifying.
either fight them, or you can act and spare them and give them mercy. So you can play the entire game without killing any monsters, and you can become all their friends. That's how I like to play, at least, because the
That's
characters are
good.
all really fun. Um,
Yeah.
but there's some really great battle music, so primarily I'm going to be showing you some of the boss fight music. Um, all of this music is made by one person, Toby Fox. He is also the developer of the game, so he made the game and the entire soundtrack. Uh,
Oh wow.
yeah, so that's really
That's
cool.
really cool.
So he composed all these pieces. Uh, yeah, so, all right, we're gonna start with home. So this is when you fall down in the underground, you meet this character named Toriel, short for, it's kind of a pun on tutorial, because she kind of shows you how to play. So home is the theme of her home. One, go. So yeah, this one's nice and peaceful. I really like this vibe. The acoustic, peaceful calm.
Yeah. Interesting because the rhythm is kind of like not exactly stable the whole
Oh,
time.
okay.
But it's kind of like wavering a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like you're like stumbling through where you are,
Oh,
even though like Toriel knows where they are. You as the main character might not know.
yeah.
So it kind of feels like nostalgic to a certain extent for Toriel, but not so much for you. It's more like unfamiliar type of.
That is such a good
I like.
analysis.
Oh, thank you.
For not knowing anything about the game. That's like really good. And
Oh wow.
like yeah, because yeah, for Toriel, this is obviously her home. She's very comfortable here, but for you, the player, this is all new. And Toriel
Yeah.
offers you to stay in her home. She can say, you can stay here if you want, but you as the player
Mm-hmm.
will decide to keep going and go on your adventure. So that will lead us into Heartache. This is the boss music for when you have to fight Toriel in order to leave her home, in order to leave the ruins. So we're gonna play
Oh.
it. We're
Okay.
gonna play, and again, you can choose to. You'll be in a battle with her, but you don't have to fight her. You can spare her, which is one of the
I
really
see.
cool things about this game is that you don't have to kill any of your enemies. You can show them mercy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
Yeah.
Heartache
Interesting. I like how it's like very like 8-bit type of sound with like the it kind of reminds me of like those older like Mario games,
Yeah, yeah.
I guess, where it like sounds like that type of music.
Mm-hmm.
Also the drums, the bass lines,
Mm-hmm.
and like the melody kind of sounds like very similar to like Afro diasporic
Mm.
music, which is interesting. So like that type of thing. It's very
Mm-hmm.
cool. And I like how that is. So it makes it very like fast paced and chaotic. It's not a style I would have expected to hear here, but it's really super interesting how Toby Fox kind of did that. Definitely fast paced, like the areas of it are still like upbeat in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's still like a video game that you feel like you're playing something, but still a lot of conflict going on.
Yeah, so in this fight, you're very conflicted, and Toriel's very conflicted on fighting you because she doesn't want to hurt you either. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of sense that. That's really yeah, like I think like what's interesting is that there's some kind of like levity, I guess, to this type of more like 8-bit type of like music, 8-bit video game type of like music.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, if it's like a boss fight and you're like, trying to figure out whether you really fight the person or try to settle things more calmly,
Yeah.
it's definitely an interesting song that kind of represents conflict and stuff like that.
Yeah. So another detail is that her attacks are mostly fire based. Um,
Hmm.
so that's an interesting aspect. I also find that, to me, I correlate that with the fireplace in her home. You'll find her sitting in the
Um,
chair in the living room next to her fireplace. Um,
mhm.
we also will learn later that she used to be the queen. Um,
Oh
so,
wow.
yes, she used to be the queen of the monsters. Um, but now she lives by herself in this small home and she looks after anyone who falls underground.
Ah, that's really interesting because, like,
Yeah.
she has a whole lot of power then, but you don't know that unless
Yes.
you would have,
Yeah.
seen her in that true role of being like Queen of the Monsters and stuff like that. So that's an interesting um thing. There's a few. I feel like there's a few shows that I've watched that have that type of idea where there's somebody who either like knows the role that they have or like doesn't know like how much power they have or something like that. Like the type of like I don't know billionaire that secretly like has that money but nobody else knows type of
Right.
thing. It's an interesting type of sense. But yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and you also see that like she chose to leave that position of power to try and help others. Um,
Ah,
yeah, so
yeah,
yeah.
that's a pretty noble type of thing. Kind of like yeah, like the living amongst commoners type of thing.
Mm,
That's very oversimplified, but that's the
yeah.
type of like trope I'm kind of seeing. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So the next song we're going to do is, I think we're gonna do Bone Trousel. So I think that's how you pronounce it, Bone Trousel. That's song number 24.
24. I
Um,
went too far. Hold on. Bone bone trousers
Bone
trousers
Trousel.
bone trousel. No idea. I'm gonna say it's bone trousel. Never seen that word before.
Yeah, I know, me either. I was like, I honestly don't even know how to say that. I'm gonna look up what Trousel refers to or means because I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, but Bone Trousel is the boss music for a character we meet called Papyrus. He is a
Mhm.
skeleton. Um, you meet the skeleton brothers who are Sans and Papyrus. Sans speaks in the
Mhm.
font Comic Sans, and Papyrus speaks in the
Oh,
font Papyrus.
powerful.
And they're kind of almost like comic relief. But we will
Mhm.
see later that things aren't what they seem.
Mhm. Very
um,
mysterious.
but so this is for fighting Papyrus, and it's gonna have like a very kind of I would describe it as being more upbeat because he's like a very cheerful kind of silly guy. Uh,
Mhm.
so we will listen to this one in three, two, one.
Oh, this is silly. Fun. The beginning of it kind of reminds me of this one song by Paramore. I'm going on a lot of music tangents, as should be expected. But so it's the beginning of it sounds like the same drum beats for "Fast in My Car" by Paramore.
Oh, okay.
It's self-titled in like 2013. So that's interesting. It's very it definitely has like a percussive like feel that's more like I don't know, if you said it like a skeleton, it sounds like you're kind of dealing with bones there. Like that's the type
Yeah.
of drums that are going on there. And like the melodies, like I don't know, it's kind of like it reminds me as if I'm seeing some uh hilarious like 3D rendering of a bunch of like skeletons dancing in a row or something.
Yeah, that's funny.
um,
A lot of his attacks are bones. He has like bone themed attacks, and
hmm
throughout the fight, he's like, "Get ready for my special attack! Get ready for my special attack!" And
hmm
then there's a dog eating one of his bones.
Oh,
the
that's
dog,
great.
the dog ate his attack.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
The other thing it reminded me of is like the type of a few of like the notes and like the melody were really um like just like the progression not progression like the I guess like the order in which like the notes were going like up and down and stuff like
Mhm.
that, like ascending and descending, kind of reminded me of like some uh it may be the association with the word papyrus being very much like Egyptian coded,
Mhm.
but like ancient Egypt type of thing where it like has that type of scale where it's like da
Yeah.
da 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 type of thing. So that's kind of how that sounded in some aspect of it. You kind of have like some notes that have a abnormally large amount of distance between each other,
Mm.
like even when you're like kind of playing them in order. Like there's one aspect of that. It's called like harmonic minor. So it's that type of thing that everybody uses for anything slightly Egyptian coded or like in the desert type of coded. So that's kind of what I was thinking of a lot from the melody.
Yeah. So his character doesn't have an Egyptian theme, but now that you say that, I definitely hear it. Um, because
Yeah,
I
some type
get
of
the kind of
association.
sound that you're describing. Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
Hmm.
I totally get that.
Yeah. So even if he isn't like Egyptian inspired character specifically, it's more so that the song gives that type of association and vibe, which is
Yeah,
quite interesting.
yeah, yeah. I now that you say it, I hear it too.
Mhm.
All right. Next, we're going to listen to "Spear of Justice," track 46.
Okay, cool. Spear of
So
Justice.
this is a battle against the character Undyne. She is part of the Royal Guard, and she's trying to capture you because you are a human in the underground. And monsters and
Ah,
humans historically do not get along. The humans
mhm.
are the ones that trap the monsters underground. And she wants to capture you
Ah,
and bring you to the king.
I see.
Because you, as a human, you have a soul, which monsters do not have. And the king
Hmm.
needs your soul to help the monsters get through the barrier and help them escape.
Ah,
So Undyne sees this as a way to help her people. But
okay,
again,
I see.
you don't have to fight her and you can be friends.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, you always
so,
have a choice in that map. That's good.
yep. So Spear of Justice is definitely a very powerful, strong song because she's a very strong warrior. So we will listen
Hmm.
to this one in three, two, one.
Very cool. I think like the this uh soundtrack in general kind of makes it so that like very large like fanfare-ish type of
Mm,
sound or like um types of characters that have more like a larger than life type of um
yeah.
vibe. The music itself, because of just the fact that it's often electronic, makes it
Mm,
so that you know it's kind of in that I guess insulated like video game setting of like you choose this path or that path,
yeah,
or you
yeah.
have like a very like finite amount of space that you're using for like the boss fight and stuff like that. So on a larger scale, if I heard this with like 60 instruments in an orchestra, it would be very much like a that first like that type of thing is gonna
Mhm.
have like drums doing that first beat in the beginning, and then being like a huge fanfare of like
Mm.
brass and stuff like that. So very like regal, especially if she's defending the king and defending all the monsters and stuff like that. That's a very like royal warrior type of um, like feel that the song already has, like just even from the beginning. And so that's quite interesting, especially like with, I would imagine, uh like all that the monsters and like people who guard them are like trying to defend and whatnot. It's a very like impactful um they're trying to like bring like a sense of like gravity to the fact that they're defending something really important.
Yeah.
So that really reflects itself in this particular song. So if you decide to fight um, the Undying, then it's really the stakes are very high,
Yeah.
and because they're like defending something that they've known the whole time, so you look like a disruption because you are a disruption if you have a soul type of thing. Um, on that plot point, it kind of gives Over the Garden Wall a little bit
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah, even though the unknown and like the monster didn't have other people guarding him, he was trying to keep other people's soul to keep himself alive, which is really interesting. So that's kind of what that reminded me of in terms of like thematic elements and stuff
Mm.
like that. So I like how the stakes felt like they were raised in this particular song, even from those elements there.
You're right about like the stakes being high. So there's another way that you could play this game, which is what people call the genocide route, which you just kill every
Oh,
single monster. Um, and
hmm,
special, not special, but like the game will react differently to you playing in this way. So
I
Undyne has an
see.
alternate battle theme, which is, I believe, Battle of a True Hero, and the stakes are very high. She's like, I'm the last line of defense. I'm here to protect my
Mm,
people. Like, you will not defeat us. Yeah, and her fight's
right,
quite difficult, even when you're playing the pacifist way. Her fight is definitely pretty hard. I've definitely
right.
died multiple times in this fight. They did have a special orchestra performance of the soundtrack.
Oh, that's really cool.
So we may,
I
yeah,
love
maybe,
when people do that. Yeah.
yeah, maybe we could listen to that because it does sound very different hearing it performed by a live orchestra. It was a special like anniversary performance in Japan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so the game is very popular in Japan as well. Even though Toby Fox is
Hmm.
American, there's a lot of posts of like him hanging out with like Japanese game developers. Because I
Oh, that's
believe
so
he
fun.
does speak Japanese. I think he's
Oh,
fluent.
awesome.
So the next song is going to be track 59, Spider Dance. So, Spider Dance is you are facing a monster named Muffet, and she's a spider. Uh, this
Hmm.
fight isn't super relevant plot wise, it's kind of just like a fun little side quest, I would say.
Cool, cool.
So,
Hmm.
previously in the game, you run into spider bake sales, and, and the sign will say, made by spiders, for spiders, of spiders, or something along the
Oh,
lines of
wait,
that.
sorry. Of spiders, made
Yeah,
of the spiders. The
yes,
spiders are in the bake. Oh,
yes.
cannibalism. Okay,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
But it's supposed to be the raising
Hilarious.
money.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and so Muffet will actually take it easy on you if she finds out you bought from their baked goods, from their bake sales.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
So if you cannibalize them, she's happy.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Um, I don't know what they're raising money for and why they're eating spiders, but
That's
like I
that's
don't know.
that's crazy.
I never thought that deep about it. I just kind of saw it as a little joke.
That's hilarious. I mean, it is one of those very like I guess sardonic type of jokes. You're really confused as to why it's funny, but that's where we're at, I guess. That's hilarious.
So Spider Dance is a very I love this song because it's very Halloween to me. It's
Hmm.
really you really get the vibe of spiders if that makes sense.
Right. Exactly.
So we'll listen to this one in three, two, one.
Very interesting. I like it. Very there's a few songs I could think of that kind of remind me of this type of vibe.
Hmm.
Very like I guess like well, a few types of things. It sounds like a organ, like if you played it on an organ or something like that. You know, like it
Oh.
could be really interesting to kind of feel like that. Da, 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 da. That's very like Bach also.
Oh,
Where you
okay.
go on side just like there's like a note at the top that's like continuously repeated.
Mm.
If it's on the very bottom, it's called a pedal. If it's at the top, it's like you're just kind of like repeating like that top note that kind of makes it like there's lots of like creepy, crawly type of things.
Mm.
And I hear like some of the notes kind of getting a lot faster in certain areas of the melody, like later into the song, which is really interesting. So it's very creepy.
Yeah.
And yeah, like creepy crawly thing.
Mhm.
So like the type of I guess like keyboard or like synth that they're using kind of really makes it seem like there's like little tiny points like crawling on your back, which is
Yeah.
terrifying and uh, gross and weird. But like it really feels like that, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
So I think that's really fun to hear that. It kind of reminded me of I guess like maybe some like Halloween types of like songs or like shows where they have a lot of creepy things that have these like jazz blues type
Oh.
of melodies
Yeah, yeah.
like yeah like I'm trying to let me go back to like the beginning of this part where yeah that type of thing is very
Mhm.
very blues like and like in the with the rhythm like very soft drums but like very fast moving drums going on in the background
Mhm.
it's kind of comes together and makes it a very it seems like you're fighting against the antagonist you're kind of like trying to get away from something like creepy and crawly and stuff like that so um yeah it makes for a very interesting vibe very Halloween for sure.
Now, could you repeat again the part that you were saying about like Bach and like the higher notes and the lower notes? Because it like kind of cut out a little bit, and that part was really interesting. So I want to hear it again.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, so there's certain parts where it kind of goes. Let me see, like da 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 that type of thing. It reminds me of Toccata and Fugue by Bach. It's like he has these organ pieces where um you're repeating like a particular note a whole lot,
Hmm.
and you're kind of going up a little bit with like for a different line. It's kind of like it's ascending a little bit, and then you kind of have like this top line that kind of stays the same, which is really
So like
interesting.
the part that's like
Um,
da 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 da, like the that part with that
a
higher
little
note,
bit,
or
da 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 that type of like motion
mm,
where like you kind of have like the notes, like the top note stays the same and the bottom note kind of keeps going even closer and closer and then like kind of dips back down.
mm.
It's a little hard to explain, but if you were like listen to uh like Bach's like organ music, you can kind of like get that sense where it makes it seem really creepy because you know you're like the that top line that kind of stays the same
Mm.
is, I guess, let's just say like a person standing there, and then the lines that keep creeping forward seem like spiders creeping toward you, but you can't do anything about it because you're just kind of standing there
That's
essentially. That's
crazy
kind of
that
what that feels
That's crazy that you say that because in the fight you are stuck and she has these
like. Oh,
lines that your heart can only move on, so
that's
you're limited in your
great.
movement. That's crazy.
That's wild. I would have never. That's really cool. Oh my gosh.
that that's really
Huh.
crazy and really amazing that just by listening to these songs you can kind of tell what the fight is about and what it's like. That's actually really
Yeah.
really impressive in songwriting terms. I'm like
Oh,
I'm so
thank you.
shocked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Toby Fox for sure did a really great job at this because I feel like as a composer, I could kind of get the sense that he might have been just thinking of a feeling and then
Yeah.
just putting together notes that seem to match it, and it just works with the plot and whatnot. Because if he was thinking that like, oh, I just want to make something that like makes you feel like the heebie-jeebies, I guess, for
Yeah.
lack of a better
Yeah,
term,
yeah.
this would kind of be the thing that does, and then you kind of add some like synth and like some other interesting music that reminds you of like a villain or something like
Mhm.
that. A crazy deep cut is going to be like the I've Got Friends on the Other Side from The
Oh,
Princess and the Frog. Like
yeah.
that's the type of like sense of like evil villain with this type of like melodic like structure within it, especially because it's like New Orleans and whatnot, and that soundtrack and stuff. So
Mm.
that type of sense of having something coming for you and being like evil and kind of like in the shadows or something like that, and you're really like fearful of it. That's quite an interesting thing that Toby Fox did, especially with this song. I didn't even know I was literally like dead on about
Yeah.
what was happening. I've never seen this before. I've never heard it, so that's really cool.
That's so funny. Yeah, because literally the like a lot of the fights will have like a certain like kind of like gimmick or like a special element that makes them different from the other bosses. And hers
Hmm.
is that you when you're in a fight, you move your little soul around, so your soul is represented
Hmm.
by a red heart, and
Oh, interesting.
the bosses can affect your heart and make it different colors to give it different effects.
Hmm.
So Muffet can turn your heart purple. And when this
Oh,
happens, there'll be lines across the little battle zone area, and you can only move your heart to those different lines. So you have to avoid the attacks in like a
oh,
limited way. You can't just freely move around
really
to avoid
interesting.
her attacks. Yeah.
Hmm, that's really cool. Oh my god,
Yeah.
I hadn't expected the music to connect in that exact like way for it to be like paralleling like how she affects you in the boss attack. That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
That's so cool. Okay.
Yeah, was so much fun to see how um composers put like soundtracks together that like really like match like feelings and plot and all this other stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's really amazing how like just sounds can essentially how sounds can just tell us so much about an experience and can convey such like very specific experiences.
Exactly, like really specific feelings because well, sounds will always have some type of association to many other things that we've heard. You'll go from like one point to another point. It just kind of
Yeah.
builds a lot, so that's really interesting.
Yeah, so next we are going to listen to track 63, It's Raining Somewhere Else. This has to do with one of the Skeleton Brothers again. His name is Sans, and he's again kind of like a jokey guy. He's like very lazy,
Hmm.
but in this moment he gets very serious. He invites you to dinner and he has a very serious talk with you. Basically,
Hmm.
he so this is if you're doing the pacifist route, if you're playing by sparing people. So Sans kind of has knowledge that he's in a game. He's like aware of things outside of himself in the world. So
Oh,
he knows that you could have chose to kill everyone. So
hmm.
basically he's saying, I could have killed you. I made a promise not to kill you on sight. Basically, he's saying,
Hmm.
I could have killed
Exactly.
you where you stand, but I didn't. So don't mess up.
Yeah, no, that's valid. I mean, yeah, that's really interesting. If he has like the self awareness to know that he's in the game, that's
Yeah.
not many video games will often do that. I guess like it reminds me of like very few shows or like video games that kind of do that, where they break the fourth wall of like them being characters.
I do think Sans is one of the most interesting characters, and later on we
Hmm.
will get to hear his battle theme if you do decide to do the genocide route. He will only fight you if you do genocide route, and that is a tough, tough battle. It's like the
Yeah.
hardest fight. He's definitely one of the strongest. But if you play the pacifist route, and even if you play genocide, he kind of keeps this like, oh, I don't care. I'm like just a lazy, goofy guy. But underneath
Yeah, like
that,
aloof type of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
aloof. That's a great word. But underneath, he knows a lot more than he lets on. So
Ah,
this
those are
is
always interesting characters.
yeah. So this is It's Raining Somewhere Else, and we will play in three, two, one.
Oh, this is very uh like reflective, contemplative. That's really cool. Hmm. Definitely such a change from the previous one.
Yeah.
Uh, the chords are really nice. I was not expecting a full xylophone jazz band.
I
Wow, that's
the
really cool.
I really like the bass line in this.
Yeah. Yeah, the bass goes very well with this. I love how like the third chord like had a few notes that I didn't expect them to like. I didn't expect them to go that in that direction, but like it gives a very small amount of like brightness to it.
Mm,
I don't know nearly how specific I can get with some of the chords, but it sounds really um heavy and like somber, but those interesting like notes thrown in there, as well as like the softer like electronic type of piano like in the solo after the xylophone is really interesting. I think like overall it's kind of um like you kind of take a pause, like you're not
mm.
trying to type anything in this case. um and it's very yeah, unexpectedly like slowed down.
Yes,
And even if there's not actual rain going on
there
all at the
is.
very beginning of the song. Oh, there is. Oh, there is. Okay, good. So I'm not crazy. It actually, I was hearing a bit of rain then. Yeah, yeah. Like it's really interesting, even at the beginning, where the only thing that was playing was the piano. And so like a very soft, muted piano when there's already like rain going on outside, kind of like reminds me of like it's just very, very gray outside, even if it's not raining exactly where you are.
I was gonna say, I
That's really
forget, like, it's
interesting.
technically raining somewhere else. So I'll give you a little spoiler into the other game by Toby Fox. It's called Deltarune,
Mm-hmm.
which is an anagram of Undertale.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Ah.
and it is sort of connected, but not really. We're not
Mm-hmm.
exactly sure how it's connected, but it's some of the same characters are in that game as well, including Sans. And
Ah.
we reach a moment where Sans is, I'm not going to say like the context of the scene, but the song that plays is the place where it rains, or the place where it rained.
Oh.
So
That's really neat.
that's, yeah, that's really cool. So when the soundtrack came out and we learned that that was like the name of the song, it was like, oh, this is where the rain is happening. This is the somewhere else.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the same one. That's really, really cool. I like how like some of the chords are really, really cool in this. Like the third one in specific, yeah, specifically. Usually what happens, I don't know how to describe
So
this
you can get in depth
in
about chord
less.
progressions. That's totally fine.
Okay, great, great. Yeah. So basically, yeah, it's because I could go about this like all day. It's really fun. So like what usually happens in this type of thing where it's like C is the place that you're starting, so we're calling that one. So C minor, and then five is G, and then B flat. That's an interesting one where it's that's seven basically.
Mhm,
Um, and then F would be four. So you're kind of going like 1 5 7 4. You're kind of like bouncing back and forth. It makes
mhm.
sense for you to go from 1 to 5. That's understandable. But
Right.
usually the next place that you go would just be six instead of
Oh.
going like a little bit lower than the note that you usually like start with, like the
Mm,
key that you're in. It's really interesting. So they did something that was really interesting where they use this like version of C minor. It's called C natural minor, where you
mm.
have like the notes that you're supposed to have there, which is usually supposed to be like E flat, A flat, and B flat throughout it. So the idea is that if you're not changing like anything about the key that you have, there's certain ways that the chords sound where they're like really, really like dark sounding.
Yeah.
There's some chords that are changed to kind of make them sound a little brighter, but keep that type of brightness that we usually have in like more major sounding songs or something like that. But this one, they kept something where like it's called natural minor, so whatever amount of like I guess lowered notes and like black keys on the piano
Mhm,
essentially.
mhm.
Um, there's a lot more of those if you are not shifting how some of the chords sound. The I bring that up because instead of having B flat be a like just like a instead of it being B flat major, usually seven of like C minor, like that seventh note is going to be you using a major chord, which is
Mm.
interesting. Instead of that, they not only made it a B flat minor chord, they also threw in the extra flat that you have in B minor that's like not there. So you have like very lowered, like sad,
Mm.
like more like heavier notes. Even if
Yeah.
they're not sad, they're like heavier because they're a little lower than what you expect. And that's that third chord, like in that progression, which is really interesting. So you would have like your expected C minor, your expected G minor, but then you have your very like unexpectedly like lower like B flat minor, where it's also B flat natural minor, where you have all the really lowered notes that you would expect there. And then you
Oh.
go to like F minor, which that can be also an interesting change there, to have something where it feels much more introspective and like heavy and
Hmm.
like very somber, to have that third chord be a little bit darker than you would usually even hear. It's already a very dark type of like ambiance and stuff like that, but to have that even more lowered in a way kind of gives some brightness as well, because there's these things called like relative majors and relative
Right.
minors. So B flat's relative major is D flat major. So it kind of sounds like you have, so okay, sorry, it's easier for me to just sing it. I'm sorry, like it literally is
No, no,
easier to
that's
do that.
fine.
So yeah, so B flat minor is usually like B flat natural minor is already da 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 da. So that's already that. If
Mm.
you start on that third note da da da, instead of starting on B, then you
Oh.
would start D flat. That, if you start there, it would be then D flat major. So the whether it's major or minor is impacted by that third note for sure. So in this case for D flat, it would be da 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 da. They essentially basically did a melody where it goes da 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 da, and that's very like it kind of was a brightness of D flat major for 2 seconds,
Yeah,
even though the chord is
the
like
is it like the
yeah,
da da da
yeah,
da like the
yeah, exactly. Da, 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 da. Yeah, exactly. Because if you put
yeah.
that against D flat in like the bass line instead of a B flat, then you get a very different sound. So it was even more like somber than I would have expected for them to have B flat minor, and then also like all of the flats that you would expect to see in B flat minor. Usually, you try to change something about it. It would be maybe like da 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 da, where that would you usually be like something I would expect for
Mm.
that third chord to have a melody like that.
Hmm.
But they did something that was interesting, like technically within the notes that you would use
Hmm.
in B flat natural minor, but like it's very unexpected because the actual key you're supposed to be in is C minor. So firstly, we shouldn't even be here. Like
we shouldn't even
we're
be
in like a
here.
key that's very different. We shouldn't even be here. We shouldn't even be here. So, but even in that little third chord, once they put like the melody on top of that, I did not expect the melody to go in that direction
Mm.
specifically. So it made it really interesting, along with like just like the different timbre of this song, not having too many electronic instruments until like
Yeah.
halfway through, and also just starting out with a very like subdued, very like somber type of like color. So I can like literally only like imagine black and white and rain outside.
Yeah, it's like very
Like
noir.
that's kind of the only sense. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Film noir, exactly.
I would assume that this is considered jazz, right?
Yeah. It is.
It
It
would.
is
Okay.
jazz. Yeah, it's very like I guess it's a type of like very somber. I'm trying to think of what composer this would be closest to, but I guess like a really like a jazz is kind of influenced by like the same type of like heavy feelings that you would get in a blues to a certain extent, like
Yeah.
that type of like introspective type of jazz for sure. Like jazz is usually introspective, but
Mm.
it's less about the like flaunting this like how cool the solo is for this
Right. Right.
particular type of jazz, and more so like how lyrical the melody is, or how the notes are played, and that type of ambiance that's kind of going for something that's requiring somebody to like really think about how their darker feelings feel and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Because that's why I was like not sure about jazz because I was like, is it jazz or blues? That was like the one thing that was like,
Yeah,
but
no,
yeah.
you're right. Yeah, it's definitely jazz, but I feel like it gives me like the character of blues a little
Mm,
bit, because blues has a specific structure,
okay,
because this like musical structure is very much jazz.
got it.
Um, the feeling of it though, feels more like a bluesy type of thing where like like it's a little slower,
Hmm.
um, but and it feels very isolated in ways as well. So like a lot of blues was used as like a function of really like focusing on those like darker inner emotions and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So in that sense, it gives me a blues type of like character, but it is jazz like structurally. And either way, they're very intertwined with each other and
Yeah.
influence each other a whole lot. So yeah, I really like this one so far. It's not like the other ones were not cool, but I really was able to be a full nerd about this one for sure.
But yeah,
Yeah, it's really interesting.
we could definitely continue doing more of the musical analysis because I think that's really interesting. But I think it was good to kind of get into it, thinking about like the emotions and getting used to the game, so that we can
Yeah, for
talk about
sure.
these deeper ones. So that was great. I loved that one. I loved talking about that one.
Thank you.
This is not a theme of a major character, but rather the theme of a place. It's the core.
Hmm.
So you're getting towards the end of the journey. You're starting to get into like the last kind of leg of things. And this
Hmm.
one's a very funky song because it's like the core, it's like kind of futuristic. This is definitely a song that a lot of people like.
Ah.
So this is 65 core, not core approach, core. um, and three, two, one, go.
Very like disco, I guess.
Mm.
Like it reminds me of like a disco type of party, I guess. Um, it is for sure. Oh, that's a fun one. That's a fun chord. Didn't expect that one either. Interesting. So definitely very like disco electronic type of music. And yeah, it's like the things above like the that type of thing.
Hmm.
Um, those those aspects of it make it really like um makes it seem like there's kind of like fireworks or like shining stars or something like that, like shooting stars, I believe. Which is really interesting. Like
If you hear at this point, there's almost
very
like twinkling, like with the.
oh really?
Is it like a
Yeah.
xylophone in the back? I think.
Um, like at the
Like
top, like I guess it would either be a synth or a xylophone, like in the top of this part specifically
like
that
the
I'm in.
ting
Like it's more so.
ting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the I like how like it's very um it kind of feels like I'm like I don't know, like flying through the air almost, or
Mm,
like it's like an underground city that's very that you wouldn't expect to be there.
mm.
Um, where there's like tall buildings, but you're literally underground, so wouldn't make sense for those to be there. But it's really interesting in that kind of feels like not exactly steampunk or cyberpunk, but like very like that type of like futuristic type of lots of metal around and like
Yes,
lots of like illuminated areas within the like underground space and stuff like that.
this is definitely a very different environment from any other place that like you've been in. Um,
Hmm.
so it makes sense that this song has a very different feel from some of the other locations because the primary other locations are out in like nature. They're in the snow, in the forest, in like a lava
Okay,
area,
yeah.
in waterfalls. But this is a very metallic, man-made area.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yes. He's very like constructed for sure. Um yeah, I really like this one. This let's see.
I wanted to ask about those piano chords, like that you hear by themselves at the end and at the beginning, the dun 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 dun.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like I wanted to ask about that part like specifically, because that part
Hmm.
stands out so much to me.
Yeah.
I don't know like I
Um
can't, I don't have the ear like you, so I don't know like what kind of chord progression that is or why it
no, that's
sounds
okay.
good.
No, it's okay. Yeah. It kind of interestingly, it kind of reminds me of like like how some like jazz block chords are played in a lot of
Mm,
songs. Um, but really the it might that might be more so from the rhythm and like
mm,
kind of like how the notes are like ascending and descending. But the fun part is when the bass kind of comes in and it's like
mm,
so much lower than like those initial
yeah.
parts. So like it kind of feels like you're like suspended in midair, like in the very beginning.
I
Um,
believe
so
if this is
like
the part that I'm thinking
mhm,
of, there are like jumps. I think I might be wrong. I'm thinking of two different places right now
oh,
in the
okay.
game, but I think there are
Mhm.
like spots where you are like jumping in air.
Oh, well, yeah, that's the if that's like the sense of it, then that makes sense. Yeah, so it kind of feels like that's like really if you're not grounded yet, basically for like those like brief moments in the beginning until like the bass kind of comes in, and it's very like the part that surprised me, even though in a way it kind of doesn't have. I only say that just because it's common enough for that to occur, but like it's interesting because I'm not exactly sure what I'm expecting, but it's
Right.
very like jazzy in the sense of like the types of extended chords that are there. Like not every single thing that I am mentioning is jazz, but usually there's just so much jazz influence everywhere that it comes out that way. But definitely like a lot of like disco, like electronic, like I guess house. I haven't heard too much house by itself for me to know
Mm,
something that's house influenced or house specifically. But it reminds me of that type of thing where it's very dancey.
yeah.
Oh, it kind of reminds me of like Michael Jackson a little bit in
Oh, that's interesting.
like bits and pieces of Michael Jackson type of thing.
I think that might be
Um,
part of why
especially
it's
like
like a very popular like fan favorite song because it's so dancey. Like it has that
oh
like groove.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Exactly. It's a very groovy type of song for sure. Yeah, so I think that's part of it. Like even the beginning where it's like da 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 da, like that literally explicitly reminded me of Thriller because like it
Oh,
goes
yeah.
like Thriller, Thriller, like that literally it's
Yeah.
also the same key. So that helps me a little
Oh.
bit. Where I'm like, oh, that's the same. Yeah, it's a yeah C sharp minor is the key, and also additionally like the types of chords are very there's a lot of like really interesting notes in there that go beyond, even though it's I guess typical to a certain extent the way that some of the progressions are going, just because like we've heard it typically in dance music before.
Mm,
It's still really cool when the bass line comes in and
yeah.
it kind of does like this interesting jump between like it stretches across a large like range, the bass
Mm,
line, because it kind of goes like da 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 da, that type
yeah.
of thing. And then after doing that like twice, it goes da 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 da. Like you don't expect it to drop that much lower in comparison to like where that previous line started, which is really interesting. So it goes from like C sharp and like kind of makes those jumps there. Da da da. Those are like fifths apart. So like C sharp, G sharp, and then D sharp. So like you're already spanning a whole lot. You're spanning an octave already,
Yeah.
or more than one, like in that part of the bass line. But then you go from that to da 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 da, and like that is that B like that's really low. That like lowest note is quite an interesting place to go. So that like basically whatever chords were being done and whatever types of melody stuff was being done, you're just using that same thing and then you are modulating it. You're simply just like shifting it down a half step. So like
Ah.
it comes out of nowhere where it's shifted. It's I guess in like a technical sense, in like the very um like term heavy like
Yeah. Yeah.
theory stuff that I
Mm.
had been learning. It's very like abrupt modulation to make it really like insanely complicated. So yeah, it's just like you kind of are in one place and then you take the exact same thing that you did and then you simply shift it over like a half step or a whole step.
Mhm.
So instead of it just being something where you're getting a sense of like, oh, this is C sharp minor, this is kind of what we're doing, you shift it down immediately and you're at like B minor instead.
Mm.
Um, Even though that wasn't exactly like that wasn't the place that it was quote unquote supposed to go, like in theory. Like you would expect that we
Yeah.
would go through some type of like progression, but it simply just shifts everything down and then goes back and
So like
shifts and goes back, that type of thing.
yeah, like just a big unexpected jump rather than slowly transitioning as you would
Yeah,
normally, quote unquote.
yeah, exactly. So you're not taking like a bunch of chords to get to a certain place. You're just simply jumping from one place to another,
Mhm.
which is really interesting about that. So it's a fun tactic in music because it's makes it so that you can do a lot of interesting stuff with something that's repetitive
Mhm.
simply just by moving it over a little bit.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like especially for video game music, you're having things are looping, especially if it's just like area background music. This is just gonna loop because you don't know how long the player's gonna be
Hmm.
there. Doing something like that makes a
Exactly.
lot of sense. Now, like
Yeah, for
traditionally,
sure.
what would this kind of but the abrupt modulation, like
Yeah.
when used like in a more traditional sense, not for like games, what's usually the kind of feeling that they're going for when this is used?
Just like an immediate like emotional shift because usually there's like a large amount of stuff that is occurring
Mm,
um in like a large like piece. For example, like to make it really it's simple, like this simple in terms of like structure. Like
yeah.
there's just like form and stuff like that that people are aware of where you're just like, okay, so this piece is in this form and then that form and then that form. So like A and then B and then A. Like
Mm,
we're aware of those types of like sections that happen in like pop music. We have like, the verses and the chorus and the
yep.
verses and stuff. So like that like general structure is something that's made clear in certain ways where you have like a certain theme you do in A, and then in B you kind of change things around. A lot of the ways that composers might change things around is simply just using a very different set of progressions to get to a different place,
Hmm.
to kind of like modulate, I guess, more like in a way that like flows more naturally instead of just shifting from one key to another. Some composers will simply just shift from one key to another, and use like the same like type of theme or
Mm,
use a slightly different one just to go to a different place for an emotional shift or go to a different place that's like intentionally uncertain where instead of going in kind of um like a nice like ascending order you're kind of like skipping over some notes to make it like a chord that has like really interesting layers to it, like a diminished chord
mm.
basically, where you have let's just say you have like two black keys and two white keys basically. I'm trying to figure out how to better visualize that, but essentially, yeah, like there's ways that like sometimes composers might use some like diminished chords to kind of transition between keys in a little bit
Mhm.
more of a natural sense. And then sometimes they might just out of nowhere choose a chord that would be unexpected in that key, or just shift the key entirely. So it's more
Mm.
so like for emotional effect, or just for like thematically trying to change something. Yeah, that type of idea where it's more like an emotional shift than anything. So not so much of a looping effect. This is not to say that like in more modern like styles they're just doing that for a looping effect. Sometimes it's just like to make a really um like interesting musical change for the
Yeah.
sake of a musical change because
Hmm.
sometimes it's just fun to do that.
Right.
But like yeah, it's just I don't know, it's just fun. The
Yeah.
vibes were just there. You just wanted to shift it. So
Hmm.
that's kind of what I feel in this one, where there's really interesting. There's already an interesting like type of like melodic thing going on in this high part of core already, and then you have the bass line that's really interesting. And then even though you're changing things to having a bass note of B, you're still actually retaining C sharp somewhere in there as well.
Ah.
So like you're still kind of like even in the bass line that kind of is jumping from a lot of places and like ascending really quickly, kind of jumping a lot of steps, you still have C sharp somewhere in there. So it has that connection
Yeah,
where
you still
you're
feel grounded. Like there's
kind of
still something
feel
to
like
hold
you're in
on
the same
to.
place. Yeah, exactly. You kind of feel like you're still in the right, like not the right place. Excuse me. It's kind of in the same place to a certain extent in terms of like the vibe of the song.
Hmm.
Um, but that musical shift makes it so that like in the world building, you might be seeing that there's different aspects of the world that you're in, and that shift of like the can kind of reflect itself in the music where there's like just very different interesting things going on in a new place that you haven't seen, like it's
Hmm.
very different from the nature and yeah like natural setting that you were in where you have all these quickly shifting areas. Also sounds very like the rhythms here kind of sound like they're really a little bit more frantic, like fast moving, like there's
Mm-hmm.
not so much like there were a lot of fast moving notes before in certain songs, but this is more so like the whole like the tempo is simply just really fast
Yeah.
moving. Da 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 da. Da. It's very just fast moving in general, and also there's an abrupt shift that you don't expect, and then you're kind of just back where you started. But like, I guess not pendulum swinging, but like kind of, I guess, like back and forth between those two areas where the melody is just the same but lower, and like the bass line kind of changes the whole section a little bit,
Yeah.
is something that I feel like is really yeah, reflected in like the, I guess, futuristic type of element, and like, kind of the music is essentially kind of like telling you that like this is very much like not the same place that you've been in
Yeah.
before, which is um kind of how some of the rhythms and the um just like the mood of the song kind of sounds to me.
Yeah. I agree. I definitely hear that more
Mhm.
franticness compared to the, like, other songs
Yeah,
so far. I
exactly.
definitely hear that. And I think you're right. It's not just the speed. I think the combination of the speed and those abrupt changes that, like, it does feel a lot more frantic. I definitely hear that.
Exactly.
Next song we're going to listen to
Hmm.
is Death by Glamour, number 68. This
Hmm.
is against a boss named Metaton. He is a very fabulous robot. He is a superstar, a TV host, a singer, a performer, and this is definitely one of my favorite boss themes. My sister and I actually played this piece as a four-handed piano piece, so that was really
Oh,
really
that's
cool.
fun.
Yeah, it was really cool. So I'm excited for you to hear this one because this is one of my favorites. Three, two, one, go.
Oh, that's fun. The melody was already really, really low in the beginning,
Yeah.
so that's very cool. And I'm also getting the exact same rhythmic stuff from four that's going
Yeah.
on. Da 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 da. Yeah, yeah. Da 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 da. It's just a little different that way, where it kind of that section reminds me more of like um instead of the bass line being well, sorry, instead of the melody kind of like moving like a little bit back and forth between like a few notes. The melody here kind of seems like it jumps a whole lot more, like da 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 instead of da 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 initially. So that's really
Right.
interesting as well. So it kind of keeps that connection from core as well. Um, and wait, so this character is this character within like the core like area,
Yes.
or
Yes.
is it in a different section? Okay, yeah. So that makes sense. Like that the um, melodic elements are kind of the like a connection between um, kind of what you see first in that area of the world, and then also how the bosses kind of reflect that. That's really interesting as well. I think that even with that amount before the higher instruments come in, and like the longer notes from like the higher instruments come in, the bass comes in at a really really low point in comparison to the melody. Like the melody's already kind of low already,
Mhm.
um, which is um, quite different. I would have expected that like that melody was the bass line, and then the bass line came
Oh.
in. I was like, oh, well
Yeah. Yeah.
that's really loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so that's pretty cool. Let's see. Oh, and then there's like, the what I'm realizing now is the synth, because it kind of reminded me of like either like electronic like violin sounds, or just
Mm.
like synth in general, where there's like these really like long notes above it, like "Ah," for a long
Da,
time.
da, da,
In addition to,
da, da,
yeah,
da.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah, that above uh the really fast moving notes was quite interesting. It gives the glamour part for
Mm.
sure, um because yeah, it just reminds me of that type of like, I don't know, glamour and like long notes and this that and the other, kind of reminds me of like really like melodic things that are meant to be like really beautiful and
Hmm.
very um not exactly like feminine is not the word I'm looking for. I'm more so looking for like this kind of
I get, like,
like
I will put up, I will show you an image of Mettaton after this so that, like, but feminine is not
mhm,
necessarily wrong, because he is very, like,
mhm.
flamboyant, very glamorous. He wears big
There we
pink
go.
boots.
Yep,
uh
flamboyance, eccentric. Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, he wears like
exactly. Yeah, so
pink
flamboyant
heels
might be
and
better.
yeah.
So, mhm.
So,
Yeah, so that type of like longer notes in contrast to like all of the really like fast moving uh, um notes really kind of comes together to create that type of uh picture of somebody who's like really flamboyant, like eccentric, like fast moving,
mhm.
um and kind of just um moving through, being very like in people's face about like how their appearance is, just because that's just the type of character that they are. So like that's really interesting. It kind of like reminds me, like, if this person is already wearing like large like pink boots and like moving really fast, that would just be, that'd be a very eccentric type of person to like see such a like vibrant color
Mhm.
and vibrant type of outfit and stuff like that um, on a character when it's a boss fight. And
Right.
I guess you would think that somebody would want to keep their clothes clean instead of fighting people. Um, but
Well, the
depends
thing
on the
is,
phase that you are in the game, and of course. Mhm.
also the fight is more like a pose off, if anything.
Oh
Um,
yeah, no, exactly. You're just voguing at this point.
yes, essentially he's
That's
voguing.
not
Yes.
you're literally just voguing. Yeah, so it's giving that type of it's giving Vogue really. So that's kind of what that reminds me of, where it's very um, like light melodic stuff above really um, fast moving, dancey um, types of uh, like rhythms and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Definitely captures a character already that I'm kind of like um, thinking of it, that has a very eccentric type of personality. So I think the song really captures that for sure.
I definitely like this song a lot. I think it's really fun and it does have like such a punchy energy and like a glamorous feel. So it's definitely one of my favorites on the soundtrack. Next, we are going to listen to Asgore. Asgore is the king of the monsters. That's number 77, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big fight. But you learn he really doesn't want to fight you, but he feels like he has to in order to help his people. And again, you don't have to fight him. Like, you will talk to him. But he does this crazy thing that like breaks the game is he breaks your mercy button. You He gets rid
Mm-hmm.
of it. He throws this big spear, and you
Oh
no
my god.
longer have a mercy button. So all you can do is continue to act rather than fight. Um,
Oh.
so yeah, but definitely some people when playing, they're like, "Oh, can I not like act anymore? Like, do I have to fight?" You don't have to. It doesn't force you to fight. But definitely some people thought that like, so the game definitely makes you have to be very determined to stay merciful. And a major theme of the game
Right.
is determination. Whenever you have a save point, it you feel determined. You like see something or you interact with something, and you're like you feel determined.
Mm-hmm.
And determination is what keeps your soul alive, and that's how you're able to. Essentially, it's what keeps you uh, being able to revive. Like in a video game, you know how you like you always come back. That
Right.
force is referred to as
Yeah, exactly.
determination in the game. Um,
Oh,
so this is a big
interesting.
fight. And Asgore's the king,
Mm-hmm.
so he's powerful. So you'll hopefully get a lot of those vibes from this song. Oh, he's also, since he's the king, he is the ex-husband of Toriel. Um, so
Ah,
so you
ex-husband.
yes. um, so
Hmm.
they had some conflicts. Specifically
Mm-hmm.
about the humans. They had some because as you remember, Toriel wants to protect the humans and help them that fall down here, and
Mm-hmm.
Asgore wants to take their souls to free the monsters. They both
Right.
want to
Okay.
help people, but in different ways, and that's what causes their divorce.
Right. That makes sense.
Usually, killing children is probably a good ground for divorce.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah, I this is all in jest. Obviously, very very important to just leave somebody very quickly if they want to kill children. Probably not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, them having that type of conflict is an understandable, like really interesting aspect even so far. So.
So you may also hear some of Toriel's battle theme in this song. Uh, you'll probably
Oh,
pick on it
mm,
because you'll we
interesting.
listened to it earlier. That's part of why we listened to it earlier. So
Mhm.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hmm. So yeah, it kind of like there's some things with the rhythm that are really like that have that same like delayed type of character the way that Toriel's was in Home, I think. Yeah, which is not exactly something I expect. Like I didn't know what to expect. I wouldn't have thought that it was like I guess too obvious
Yeah.
that the themes were similar yet. But even if the melody didn't give it away, the fact that there's a lot of like um in this case actually hesitancy in
Mm,
the rhythm a little bit,
yeah.
that kind of gives me that sense that like he's probably not trying to fight you, but the mercy button is broken at some point. You got so you first you have to figure out not genociding halfway through a pacifist. Secondly, you're also like yeah dealing with some being that doesn't really want to be fighting at that time kind of gives like this um yeah like heavier like uh feeling to what they're doing where it feels like it's like pointless
Oh, yeah.
or doesn't have the same type of yeah you definitely don't have the same determination as the character if you're not wanting to fight um that particular character even if you're wanting to protect your land and stuff like that and save your group that's still um still might not stand the chance against you not wanting to fight in the first place and really feeling like very um I wouldn't say defeated but maybe like feeling um, unmotivated
Mm.
maybe to try to be fighting a human about uh this type of thing. You're just like, I just want to protect my people but not have to like fight anything.
Yeah, so I believe at the beginning of the fight, I believe he apologizes to you and he says like, "I'm sorry it has to be this
Oh,
way." Um,
that's crazy.
but he feels like there's no other choice to help free the monsters. But if you're playing pacifist route, you're going to convince him that we don't need to do this, that we'll have to find another way. You're like, we can do this together, we'll find another way.
Right.
Um, so yeah. But I do think this song sounds very kingly. Sounds very like I get that royal vibe. Also, if when you look at Asgore, he looks very similar to Toriel. You could tell that they're like the same species of monster. They have similar clothes.
Hmm.
So you can tell just by looking at them that they're related in some way or shape or form. Um, but I definitely think you can
Yeah.
hear it absolutely.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I also think that yeah, it's good that you can kind of see that they're related to a certain extent, but of course, even if they're visually similar, they obviously have a very different way of looking at life
Yeah,
and looking at like how they're supposed to reach that goal
yeah.
of defending their land and stuff like that. Music wise, I also think that yeah, it sounds very regal in certain aspects. I almost felt like the Toriel's almost sounded more regal to a certain
Okay.
extent. Or for Asgore, it feels like I can get that sense because of like the timpani, like the
Mm,
pitched drums, like halfway through, like dun dun type of thing, like really bold sounding drums, like that kind of make that very clear appearance that they're there. And also, even if it is still that electronic, like kind of like smaller feeling like setting, also kind of feels like the longer notes that kind of like bleed into some of the like synth and stuff like that
hmm.
um, kind of makes for like a very sad type of feeling
Yes, yes.
where you can kind of tell that there's something like kind of drawn out or that there's like he's kind of like dragging his feet trying to fight a character because he's like, oh, I'm sorry I have to do this, I wish I didn't have to. There's some level of like pulling back or some like level of being unsure or like yeah just like ambivalence and uncertainty about the decision that's being made to like fight a character but you're also thinking like, oh, this is the only way, so very like stuck between a rock and a hard place type
Right.
of thing. And so the melody and the way that the rhythm picks up after like kind of faltering a little bit kind
Mm.
of gives that like hesitancy. um so that's definitely an interesting aspect
I
of
absolutely
the
do
song
hear
for
that
sure.
sadness kind of to it. I feel like the biggest emotions it conveys for me are this character has power, and this character is conflicted or sad or
Yeah,
uncertain about what
conflicted.
comes next. Also, there's a bit of regret
Yeah.
because he has killed other humans before for their souls, and he regrets doing that
Right. That's true.
because he's a father, so he has kids. So by like
Oh.
that's yeah, him and Toriel have a child named Asriel, which is kind of funny because they just combine their names.
Oh, I remember that. Hmm.
Um, but
Yeah.
he does this because he wants a better life for his people. They're trapped underground. He wants them to be able to go back to the surface. The only way he knows how is to have 7 human souls that will break the barrier and set them free.
Ah.
And yours is the last one, of course.
Hmm.
So he's like, this is the last one. I have to finish
Right.
this. Yeah.
But he feels like he's trying to complete the goal, but like he's already done so much horrible stuff to get to that. So,
Yep.
um, feeling that level of like regret or guilt, or just like yeah, ambivalence about having to kill another human despite it not being exactly like number one on your list
Right.
specifically. Like you want the goal. Yeah, yeah, like you want the goal to be that like your home is saved and stuff like that. But of course, you don't want to have to keep doing like violent things to get to
Yeah.
that. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, because you hear from other monsters underground how the king is so nice, how the king is really a wonderful person, and the little bit you talk to him before the fight, you do realize he's very kind and he really doesn't want to hurt anyone, but
Hmm.
he feels like he has to, and that's his responsibility as king to
Right.
do this. He actually, I believe, he offers you tea. He mentions how like awkward this is. um, yeah,
Mm.
but our
Yeah,
this will be
definitely a tough space to be in.
Yeah. So this is gonna be the second to last one we listen to, but this song
Mhm.
is number 87, Hopes and Dreams. So this is when we fight Asgore and Toriel's son, Asriel. In the very beginning of the game, we meet this
Mhm.
flower, a flower named Flowey. And Flowey pretends to be nice and then immediately tries to kill you. And then Toriel saves you.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Toriel saves you
Mhm.
though, so you're okay. And you fight this flower later on. He's a really big, scary boss. But we eventually find out that Flowey is Asriel. His soul got put into this
Oh.
flower and it kind of changed him. He's not who he once was. His soul kind of got corrupted
Mhm.
by some. I'm not going to explain everything, but this is when Asriel's no longer a flower because he actually gets the power of the other souls. So he's able to free himself from the
Mhm.
flower, and he becomes kind of like this ultimate powerful being. And you need to fight him, or in this case, you talk to him and you help him. And this one's definitely a very powerful song. I feel like very emotionally impactful. Even by the name "Hopes and
Mhm.
Dreams," you can kind of tell that this is
Right.
an impactful emotional moment. Also, it's quite a longer
Very
song.
beautiful.
Um,
Mhm.
so yeah. Okay. Three, two, one, go.
Oh, that's really cool. I like how already um I know I'm like literally not far enough to get to like the middle of it, but I wanted to just say that it's really really pretty in the beginning. It reminds me of this is also a deep cut. World 7 from Super Mario Galaxy 2. The world's like theme where it's like
Mm-hmm.
dun, da, 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 da,
Oh
da, that
yes,
that
yes.
like yeah. Hmm. I
Another game with
literally haven't
beautiful
heard that song
music.
in decades.
That's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The music for that is beautiful. So I was reminded of that because of the fact that, like, of course, that one's in space, or the galaxy is in space, and also just like the idea of like Rosalina and all of this like really mystical type of like kind of above the world that you're in type of like idea, and that's kind of what dreams are to a certain
And
extent.
guess what? One of his
Like this
attacks
kind of
is a bunch of stars.
Oh, look at that. There we go. You took me out. So I don't know how I keep doing that.
I
I
know,
just
it's kind of
like
crazy.
10 out of 10. Yeah. So yeah, and that's really interesting. Yeah. So just like stars and all these really like it's celestial, like larger than life type of beings are really something that I get the sense for in the very beginning. And it's very higher register, to be honest. Like
Mm,
even the quote unquote baseline is not very high on it. Sorry, it's not very low
yeah.
really at all. Like high violins, like if not violins and violas, then definitely just like the other like violin sections and stuff like that. So very or even like just high cellos in general. It's very like um suspended in the air because I mean, it kind of reminds me of space and like things having to do with stars. And then the immediate transition to rock is
Mm,
very uh, like it's interesting because it's essentially just like the literal exact same thing at first to kind of like just introduce a very different genre to bring in that feeling, but it makes it feel again that the stakes are really high,
mm,
even though we're still talking about hopes and dreams here and stuff like that. But maybe it's like just thinking about how like how significant and um like high the stakes are firstly, and like how
yeah.
significant it is for the um characters to really be trying to defend themselves and what they want in the future and things like that. And that's a difficult thing to have to like strive for by either like making hard decisions or just like staunchly defending the land that you live in and like trying to like battle with creatures you don't agree with if you happen to be the monsters that are there, or like you being a human trying to convince like other monsters that have been really at odds with
Mm.
your kind and stuff like that. So I think that literally that's like 30 seconds in, but like just because I wanted to like kind of catch on like the first few aspects of it that make it really like a fitting title for the type of things that's going on, that the things that are going on. Yeah, and I like how even the lower range of like the guitars and like bass and stuff like that, there's a thing called like dropping a note basically. So like
Mm,
usually for E for sorry for basses, bass guitar or like the upright double bass, lowest note is usually E. However, there's something for like upright basses that's called the C extension, so the note gets even lower.
mm,
Goes from an E to a C, so like all the way down basically.
mhm,
And for electric instruments like bass guitars and like electric guitars and stuff like that, you can tune down essentially like the entire
right,
instrument, meaning everything kind of goes down by like a certain amount to make it so that the spacing that you need for all of the notes stays intact, but you're simply just lowering everything.
right.
Alternatively, if you have like a five string bass or something like that, like you'll structure like the spacing between the strings a little bit
Mm,
differently. But the point is that if you have both the guitars and the bass guitars playing the same notes,
mhm,
like playing that same like lower string that they have, it's gonna be an octave apart usually because
mhm,
just because of like the range being a little different. But they're already an octave apart for about four out of six of like the strings for the guitar, and then just like all of the strings for the bass guitar is like an octave apart from the guitar. So essentially, if you lower pretty much everything, that really gives like a very dark sound. So I didn't know how much lower it would already get because already for when the guitars and bass guitar came in, E flat is already a little bit lower than you would usually have as like the regular tuning
mhm,
for a guitar. A guitar is like last note, last string, or a bass's lowest string. So it's already at a low, but like I guess typical thing that people do to like tune down their instruments a little bit. But dropping it to C, like doing like a drop C basically, is something that makes a song very heavy.
mm.
Additionally, this song is supposed to technically be in B flat major, but I have not heard a single B flat as a bass note yet
That's so funny.
because yeah exactly, but like it's about what it implies, and you
Mm,
can kind of like hear the sense of like what these chords imply even if you haven't landed at B flat yet in like the very like first minute or something like that. So that's definitely um something I noticed where you're kind of like not grounded yet. Basically, is what that feels like to me.
Yeah, so this fight is such a big one because you're fighting for the hopes and dreams of all monsters and all humans because Azrael's determined to just end the world essentially. He's been through so much in his
Oh yeah,
life, he's been
yeah,
through so much pain. He's like, I just want it to end. So you're fighting for everyone's hopes and dreams. Um, and I feel like this song really does
yeah.
capture that like beautiful sentiment of like I'm fighting for everyone. I'm fighting for all of our futures. And if you're doing pacifist route, it's like I'm fighting for your future too, Azrael. I'm here to save you as well.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's I definitely got that sense where both sides basically of this like quote unquote conflict in the most oversimplified term to call it a conflict is like the lives of each side are at stake and fighting for like a better like world of sorts, but like
Yeah.
nobody really knows what like the answer is, which is interesting. And I also feel like because of the fact that no one knows what the answer is, that's like exactly what's more like uncertain and maybe like anxiety inducing because they're just like, what do we even do?
Yeah, what comes
And of
next?
course, if they're exactly like if they're exhausted from fighting, like Azriel and Asgore are both really exhausted, and it's really it's heavy to be in that place where you are fighting for something, but you're literally too exhausted to kind of do that
Mm,
because there has to be some other way that isn't that difficult in comparison. Like it really feels like a strong push that you have to make within yourself to really get through something that you wish had a better answer. And so that's definitely difficult because on the human side of things you're trying to say that like yeah no this can't be the answer, but like also what is the answer
so the
because obviously yeah.
when you play Undertale and you finish the pacifist route, it's a very open-ended ending. So you save everybody, everybody's alive, everybody's happy, and you decide to leave the underground. You're able to help the monsters leave the
Mhm.
underground and go back to the surface. But you're on the surface, there's a beautiful sunset, everyone's standing there, you and all the monsters, and you're like, okay, how do we reincorporate ourselves into the society of humans? We have this human here that's
Exactly.
gonna be kind of like our bridge between our two worlds, because the
Hmm.
humans banished us underground. So how is this gonna work? And we don't know. We never get to see that. We just know that there's this
Right.
possibility of a brighter future. It ends on a hopeful note, but we're not necessarily sure. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, which like can be like the scariest part for sure. It's not exactly going to be like a perfect road, but at the very least, like getting to a place where there's more of a collective like positive progress that needs to be
Hmm.
made. That's at least a good place to be. But
Right.
of course, we don't know whether that's going to like yield like only good results. I mean, I would think it would still just be hard.
Hmm.
You wouldn't know like whether all the humans are going to kill all the monsters, etc., or vice versa, or whether it's not going to be enough for you to be like the liaison between both of the worlds or whatever. Yeah, there's just like a lot of uncertainty, but it's definitely good to be determined to find that answer, even if it's really like unclear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like this song captures that type of thing. And
Yeah.
also, oh, sorry, you were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that, like, also fighting Asriel in this fight, he doesn't want to be saved. He doesn't want to be spared. He doesn't think he deserves it. But you, as the player, have to be determined
Uh,
enough to continue and to continue to
right,
like
exactly.
spare him and tell him that like I'm not giving up on you either. I am determined. I am going to help you and I'm
Hmm.
going to save everyone.
Exactly, which is like a tough place to be because, of course, you understand why Azrael would be really hopeless, especially because it just takes a lot of energy to fight against um, you know a group of beings that uh,
His soul also was trapped in a
were
flower,
responsible for
so
you. That too, yeah, that's also tough.
tough
When
being a
you're
flower.
inanimate yeah, exactly. It's tough being a flower. You can't speak for yourself type of thing. Kidding. But yeah, it's tough all around when you don't know what the answers are except to fight, like
Hmm.
very and like have a lot of strife to like go towards something. The other thing that's interesting about this song is that like in the beginning it kind of starts off really, of course, like not grounded yet,
Mhm.
and then the more heavier rock elements come in and do like echo the same thing,
Mhm.
and then like halfway within the song, instead of the progression going like downward, like going like da 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 in terms of the bass notes, it starts going like da 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 da. It kind of like starts going up now,
Mhm.
which is really interesting. Kind of feels like the just like a surging forward.
Yeah.
Even though it started out like being hopeless, or like there was a lot of like missing resolve in like Azrael's um, on Azrael's end, because it's just difficult to have been going on for that long. And it kind of feels like the very beginning in terms of like a very like descending, not very descending, the descending like baseline and stuff like that in the progression in the beginning. It's kind of like Azrael giving his type of like feelings of wanting to give up, and
Mm.
then the other like ascending direction is like you kind of giving that like determination,
Yeah.
and giving like the courage and support even if you don't know what the answer is,
That's yeah. That's a great interpretation.
because of the fact that like it repeats that type of like surging forward type of thing. I just like how it just there's a like a push and pull for
Mm.
sure.
Mhm.
I think it's a good way to kind of show even like a boss fight that there's a lot more than just like the external fighting. It's like it kind of seems like I don't know, it's not like souls are talking to each other, but kind of that
Like,
potentially. Like
you're you're
there's like
kind
a
of spot
yeah.
on. Again.
Oh,
So
that's so crazy.
so
Man, like 5 for 5 right
I
now.
know.
That's crazy.
So your human soul, you're able to talk to the other souls of the other children.
Uh
You're
huh.
able to communicate with the other souls. That's so crazy.
That's really interesting. I did not even know that that was.
I
That's
know,
crazy.
you literally know
I
nothing.
was just saying stuff and just yapping. I literally know nothing genuinely. Like full first
I'm
time
just
reaction.
yapping.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just yapping. That's literally it. Yeah. Yeah. So I really like that song. Like especially like nice combinations of like strings in the beginning or like strings throughout in some capacity, and then like really like hard rock type of things. It's a nice way to kind of put a song together.
And I think that you being able to kind of guess what's happening and like so accurately really shows not only Toby Fox's ability as a composer, but your ability to analyze
Hmm.
music. Both of your skills combined, essentially, like being able to
That's
like
true. Yeah.
communicate through
Yeah.
music, shows kind of both of your
Exactly.
skills. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I do this in my sleep. I don't know how
I
else to.
just
I don't know how else to function. Yeah. It just I think like it's really fun to kind of like think of how people are interpreting things where
Mhm.
within like whatever they're listening to,
Mhm.
where we find a way to connect to like the same type of idea but in
Yeah.
very like different ways. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that like you as a person who animates and plays video games and things like that kind of have a different type of connection to how the plot might work and how the music might serve that plot, or maybe like how they work like equally together and things like that. And I don't really play video games well, but I can like appreciate how a lot of soundtracks for many video games kind of just make it so that the person, like no matter what their skill is or no matter what experience they're bringing to the table, they can really understand it on a human level, because it
Yeah.
is a pretty human story at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Trying to connect to people and have determination and stuff. So yeah.
And then this is our last song, track 100,
Mhm.
Megalovania. You've probably heard this like in memes, I'm
Mhm.
assuming.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've heard this in memes. Yep,
yeah.
yep.
Um,
But it's okay. It's nice to listen to the whole thing. I don't think I've only heard like the first 5 notes.
okay, good. Now you get to listen to the whole thing. So this is our
Yeah, awesome.
fight against Sans if we're doing a genocide route. So basically, like, this is your
Mhm.
judgment. Um, and it's a tough fight. Sans is basically, he's saying, I'm gonna trap you here. I'm gonna continue to fight you because I know you'll respawn. So I'm just gonna keep fighting you
Oh,
over and over and over
that's
again.
terrifying. All right.
Um, and what he chooses to do, how he wants to win this fight, is he decides to take a nap. He's like, I'm gonna stop. It's like,
He
because
just,
it's,
he just sleeps.
yeah,
Trousel just gets eaten in the middle of the fight. Sorry, that's really funny. That's
yeah.
good. Okay.
So he's like, it's an RPG, so it's turn-based combat. So it's his turn.
Mhm.
He's like, I'm just not gonna attack. You're gonna be stuck here because it's not your turn. I'm just not gonna
That's
attack.
annoying.
And he
All
falls
right.
asleep.
Mhm.
So for a little bit, you're like, what do I do? But you can actually move your soul to the edge of the little box that you're like in, and you can
Mhm.
move it over and push the box so that you can reach the fight button. So you're like actually moving
That's
the
crazy.
UI,
That's
and
wild.
you
That's
kill
very
him
cool.
in one hit
Hmm. That's
because
actually crazy. I would have
yeah,
never expected you to move the box.
yeah.
Very
So
nice.
oh, I forgot to mention that like when you're fighting him, he's able to dodge your attacks, which no other character is able to do. He's like, I just move out of the way.
Mhm.
But that's the only way you can defeat him is he falls asleep, so you hit him while he's asleep. So
Ah,
it's a really cool fight. And
yeah, it sounds like it's really interesting.
yeah, and also part of the reason why the first few seconds are so popular and why that became a meme is because he does his strongest attack first, essentially. He's like, why do people not do their strongest attack first? Like he's like
Hmm.
which is also kind of funny. So most people die in
Yeah,
that
that is
first little
hilarious.
bit. So oh also there's he does a big speech before the fight too. That's like flowers are blooming, birds are singing, on days like these, kids like you should be burning in hell.
That's insane.
That's
He
how
does
he
some like talk
starts.
no jutsu and then just like sleeps.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I like have those lines memorized. They're so like impactful of like a little because you're in this like grand hall of the castle. There's like dramatic
Hmm.
lighting and everything, and he gives that like speech, and then you get like obliterated.
Yeah, that's definitely scary.
Yeah,
That's why you just get like knocked out.
yeah. When this game first came out and like people were playing it for the first time, like it was so fun seeing people's reactions to that fight.
Yeah, I probably would have been like, you know what? I'm gonna put this down for a little bit if I just
Yeah.
get knocked out immediately. That's that's probably a lot. But yeah.
Okay, let's listen to this one in three, two, one, go.
Yeah, I've heard. Oh yeah, this is very like um heavy heavy rock before. And also like the bass is really low. Like
Mm,
very much like a you feel like you're like sinking down. That's the type of
mm,
uh like vibe that it gives, which it makes sense. Um, Not only is he sinking down into a deep, deep sleep because why not? You're also like really in a like a dark uh like place where the final boss and it's a very very difficult fight. So if you get past you're already in like a terrifying place anyway. And then like the musically you kind of like it's like da 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 da. That's a very like fun way to just kind of descend instead of doing the regular like uh you start with whatever note you're at, which is like D in this case, and then you go to five, and then you go to fun places. No, it's like more so. It feels like you're kind of being like dragged deeper and deeper into like the underground where we are.
yes.
Undertale. I said the thing.
I
Wrong
said the
credit.
thing.
But yeah, but like basically, you feel like you're in that place where you're kind of dragged um, into a pretty impossible situation of having to fight someone who gave their strongest attack first and then just fell asleep.
I just realized
That
another.
part really gets me every time.
I just actually thought of another connection where you said like you're like falling and
Mm-hmm.
being pulled down. His special
Mm-hmm.
attack is he turns your heart blue, and it makes your heart
Mm-hmm.
heavy and sink.
Ah, what? Dude, I don't know how many I've gotten
I
that
know. This
like
is so
10 out of 10. I don't
crazy.
know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. That's crazy. I wow.
That's
That's
so
insane. I
crazy.
didn't get 2 degrees in college for nothing, man. That's pretty cool. That's awesome. Yeah. So I don't know how I could just I'm just like that, I guess. I don't know. I'm just built different.
I'm built different.
Yeah, so yeah. Yeah, so like I think this is cool also because the synth is kind of quiet in the beginning,
Mm,
like especially if you feel like you've like gotten there and then you just kind of got defeated. So you like barely even heard that something even happened to you, firstly. Secondly, it's an interesting contrast between like the soft synth in the beginning and then like full like heavy rock immediately after. It's like you get like one shot at hearing that theme and then it
mhm,
gets really heavy right after. And the bass stays very low. So like you're
mhm,
starting at like D, it's already dropped already. So like, and then you're at C, and then you're at B, and then B flat, which is quite a low note to be at to try to like tune your strings down already.
mhm,
It's very much like a heavy type of song, and I like how even though it feels like it's a really like light melody to a certain extent, the genre switch is very quick and kind of like reminds you just how intense and fast paced it is.
mhm.
And even if again the timbre of the whole song is very much like synthesized and like electronic to a certain extent, you can still kind of like hear that heaviness anyway.
Yeah.
So it still kind of reminds you that you're still in a video game type of thing, but it's a pretty like heavy point to be in where it's like a final boss type of thing. And also the melody alone is like the thing that's the same in the melody is always da 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 da
Mhm,
da 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 da. The fact that like the bass line goes down every single time, it makes it you have like huge jumps to go between da 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 da
mm,
da that type of thing. Like, you have these huge jumps to go between the bass and the melody. So it kind of again reminds me of that the spider dance
mm, mhm,
one where you have all these like notes that somehow stay the same at the top, and
mm,
then there's a lot of things that occur at the bottom. But in this case, instead of the way that it goes in the spider dance, where you're kind of like continuing to ascend below those notes that are the same, in this case, you're going like you're descending. You keep going like down. So like it's really much more of a heavy type of thing instead of like minuscule creepy crawlies. It's like quite a heavy thing on your soul and like
mm.
your heart that he's changing the color of. And so that's an interesting. I keep saying interesting. I promise I have other words. It is just interesting. That's why I keep talking about it.
A
But like it's
couple of
definitely a cool effect. Yeah.
a couple of the words you just said reminded me of a line that's said in this fight where it's you feel the weight of your sins crawling on your back. The way that you described that sounds exactly like that line in the fight to me.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah, that
what you've
works
done is heavy
very similar.
and it's sneaking up on you and you're like the weight of like I've done such horrible things. Like I've killed so many monsters.
Exactly.
Because if you play the
Yeah.
genocide route, you have to go out of your way to kill every single monster. You have to find every single monster,
Ah,
and it's like it's hard to do the genocide route, and you have to be equally as determined to do it, if not more determined.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah,
so
you
yeah,
have to be very like unwavering about it,
yes.
which is like, so like of course, if Sans is already saying that you're unwavering about how many things you've killed, he's just going to be just as unwavering when he's trying to defeat you in this. So it's like the stakes are quite high already, just because of just how many things you've done. Yeah, the weight of the sins on your back, of course, as you had just stated, and that makes it really quite a like ultimate type of like boss battle
Yeah.
type of thing.
Now,
The other thing that's really interesting is that at some point you get this thing. Mhm.
I was gonna say, do you
Oh,
have
did
any
you?
idea?
Sorry, say something?
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask like the like, do you think what do you think has made that part stand out to so many people and become like so catchy and like what is it about that progression of notes that like gets stuck in your head? Besides the fact that it's repeated a lot, but like
It's one variation of a blues scale actually. Da da
oh
da 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 da. And it's a fun pattern to do.
oh
So da 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 da. That type of thing.
hmm,
Is quite an interesting motion, like da 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 da, da, that type of thing. In you have like your scale that starts on whatever note, and then you have like the third note
Hmm.
and the fourth one, and then kind of the fourth and a half. Basically, it is
Oh.
like it's like D F G G sharp A. So you're almost like you start to have like a smaller distance that you're having to traverse between da 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 that type of thing. And those like it's chromatics. Like
Mm-hmm.
chromatic meaning like instead of it being that you go from D to E, you're gonna fill that space in between, go D to D sharp to E and then to F, for
Mm-hmm.
example. Like it's always gonna go in that like order. So there's 12 half steps in general. You might
Mm-hmm.
have like 7 notes in a scale generally, but like when you fill in all the spaces, it's going to be half steps. So
Mm-hmm.
like the reason why I keep mentioning black notes on the keyboard is just because like that kind of visually helps a little
Yes.
bit to kind
Yeah.
of like see that you're going in between all of those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, the way that the blues scale has existed and like chromaticism um, has like worked is to give like some sense of tension
Mm-hmm.
um for sure, and like give like a really just give a lot more color to the notes that you're playing, because if it was just da 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 da, that would be a very different
Mm-hmm.
sense. Da 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 da. You could do a lot with those particular notes that way, but adding that slightly chromatic sound with that like blue scale, the way
Mm-hmm.
that you um the way that it's used makes it really interesting, and to have that be like really stagnant, not that to have that be like the thing that remains the same
Right.
um is quite a interesting aspect. I think people like it because the way that the bass line goes down also like in certain aspects it also goes down in the chromatic fashion. So it goes da 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 da. That's also like a very like something that we associate with like mystery and like really
Mm-hmm.
like I guess
Like
like
a dun
horror type
dun
of
dun.
a little bit.
Like a cartoon,
That
like
definitely
bum
has
bum
the
bum.
chromaticism there, but like that's more like a like impending doom. So not
Mm.
the exact same, but like I don't know how to just hmm, da, 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 da. Like kind of the thing it reminds me the most of is if you have like I don't know the guys in like West Side Story in the 50s like doing like the snapping
Yeah, yeah.
da, 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 that thing that
Got it.
so that's the like yeah it's very like cool type of um like vibe. It definitely is like again associated with like an antagonistic ah antagonistic type of thing. So instead of the blues being used more as like well, instead of the blues influence being used as a device for like more somber emotions. This is
Mm.
more like really fast paced and kind of putting it into that fast paced context. And additionally, because rock and blues um, are intertwined because they're still like African diasporic music
Mm-hmm.
born, like the blues influenced rock. So
Right.
it influences both jazz and rock. And so the way that those are intertwined means that you have like you can have a whole lot of different songs where somehow they're like doing some type of variation like da 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 type of thing with like a guitar solo, and you might get that a lot where you're using a lot of notes that kind of go in between and create this different tension. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you kind of stay on like those like interesting notes that are more chromatic, like close to other notes that you have there. It emphasizes a lot more tension. So like those in between sounds are very crucial to making it sound a little bit more tense,
Mm-hmm.
and for it to have a honestly quite a nice flow to it, because it's not like you're just like jumping from like one large distance to another. You're kind of like
Mm-hmm.
having a lot of like closeness between certain notes to kind of like give a feeling of tension for sure. And it matches well to have blues inspired things with rock, especially like really heavy um, types of rock. And another thing that was interesting was that the progression changes a little bit. So it
Mm-hmm.
has that absolute lowest note like in the B flat. So like it goes B flat, then C, then D, and then you get a very unexpected, out of absolutely nowhere, like You go from D minor to C sharp major for a second. And
Hmm.
that's like that D to like C sharp, that's like one half step below. So it goes like da 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 da, like now you're like kind of like meandering around D as your key that you're working with.
Hmm.
So it kind of like keeps like skirting around it and kind of builds up a lot more tension because the fact that you didn't exactly land on D, you're not really in like a certain place yet, and the tension and the intensity is still kind of going. So that's an interesting aspect too, where like you kind of go up and you think you're gonna land somewhere and you don't.
Hmm.
So like kind of going a little bit beyond what the person's ear might expect is
Yeah.
quite interesting in this song as well.
What you said earlier about like the like blues influence and stuff like that, it made me think of that meme that's like the dominoes and it's like, but it starts with blues and it like ends with Megalovania.
Yeah, yeah, that would be that's exactly it. Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of there's a lot of genres that end up like essentially having that like domino effect of like literally it came from like jazz and blues and then you're at like Rush by Seatbelts from Cowboy Bebop. You're literally at somewhere where you like nobody would have foreseen that like Japanese like jazz fusion was like a thing
Hmm.
after like blues and jazz influence like American music. That's quite a yeah, it's a hilarious turn where you don't even know where that could have taken people, and then you
Yeah.
end up with that type of thing. I think that honestly, there's so much music that like stems from those types of collections of notes, and of course, people do so many different things with those types of ideas of having like a lot of chromaticism. Like I haven't even like really touched on the actual like vastness of Northern Indian or like Western and Eastern Indian like classical music and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Like when I say Western Indian, I mean like the like Indian subcontinent, not the West Indies.
Hmm.
Like things like that, where like the way that they structure scales and the way that they
Yeah, yeah.
name those things and like the way that certain chromaticism works, like it's such a different mentality and
I've
things like
I've
that. So
seen
I'm
that
sure
and
there's
I've
so much
heard
that's
that. They have like
influenced by that
different
too.
they have like not like different scales, but like kind of, right? Like it's like and they call it different
Yeah, it's like a
things
different
like
like collection of yeah, yeah, it's collections of notes that are they're not too different from how we might do things, but also it's the way that they are conceptualized in someone's head, and also like some of the types of like collections of notes. But like otherwise, there's certain ways where you might see pockets of things that resemble like Western music to a certain extent, and then you kind of see that like, oh wait, they kind of like split these two scales together and put this together and that together, kind
mm,
of where like there's so many interesting ways that like notes can just have their combinations. I mean, there's tones between half steps too, like where like
mm.
you can kind of be really like
Is that a semitone? Is
um
that what a semitone is?
semitone
I
is
forget.
already a half step. No, it's okay. Semitone is already a half step, but if it's a quarter tone, that's you're essentially between
Oh,
like between half steps at that
a
point. It's
quarter
yeah,
tone.
exactly. So like
Never even heard of that.
yeah, quarter tones are interesting. Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. It's interesting just like seeing how certain music like uses those like in between tones to kind of like make a lot of like tension and bring a lot of intensity to certain things. It can be used to bring intensity. It can be used to kind of open things up, or it can be used to kind of like create more flow in certain things. Because there's a lot of chromatic stuff that's less about tension and more about just like kind of like tying things together.
Mhm.
To bring it back specifically to this song, I feel like it does well to have that type of cool-ish sounding melody
Mhm.
for a boss that has low key like a lot of charisma. People are
Yes,
always like,
yes.
I'm aware of like what Sans looks like, but even just by the his appearance, people are really interested in that. Like it matches up so well with the type of theme that he has for
Yeah, like the kind of the
his
fandom
boss fighting.
surrounding this
So
character
yeah,
almost.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, so now that we've listened to all the ones I wanted to point out, what is your overall
Hmm.
opinion and thoughts on the Undertale soundtrack?
I really think that Toby Fox was cooking. So edit in the dude who just writes fire. That's he was just sitting there like straight faced,
Yeah,
nonchalantly giving us like bangers.
banger
Really
after
good.
banger.
Like I really yeah, banger after like hit after hit, man. There's not a single
No
one that's
skips.
flopped here. It's pretty cool. Yeah, no skips exactly. Yeah. I really like how like the themes for some of these characters were like well intertwined with like how
Hmm.
the world building is, and then also how the how different characters who relate to each other, like kind of have those similarities
Yes.
in the music as well. In addition to like their like visual themes and stuff.
So there's
I also
actually
like how like it relates. Mhm.
so there's actually
Okay, go ahead.
there's more songs. Obviously, there's a ton more songs in this soundtrack, but there are many repeating motifs that you'll hear throughout the soundtrack. There's actually
Yeah,
another YouTube
exactly.
video of somebody explaining how like every single song is connected in the soundtrack,
Hmm.
and it's really cool how he's able to use certain motifs over and over again, but make them sound very different and distinct, but yet connected.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. The main themes still exist within like all of the songs that are there. So I'm sure that honestly, I can imagine that maybe some of these songs might have started like as like much larger things, and then kind of like parsed a lot of these into like certain like sections and stuff like that, or might have thought of like little melodies and like expanded them. I could imagine that there was just a lot of um, different ways that Toby Fox was thinking about, how to connect like large themes, even on like a small level. So it's like, a lot of big picture, but also like, very small, like detail oriented type of like decisions in like composing and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I really like how there's a lot of like you can kind of see all of us like Toby Fox's like references to certain music
Mm,
too, which is really cool. I like a lot of the rock influence and the jazz influence that is quite evident in a lot of video game music in general, but also just like good to have a level of like musical complexity and like variety in a
mm-hmm.
soundtrack, which
Yeah.
is really cool. Even though I don't commonly listen to electronic music, like I can absolutely appreciate just how it fits the vibe for certain areas, or like there's a shift where you're using things that are a little bit more like with like acoustic instruments, acoustic meaning like not electronic. Those things are really those choices are really impactful, and I think Toby Fox does really nicely kind of connecting those to the themes that are there and like to the emotional weight that would be additionally like I guess bolstered, I guess, when you're playing um a game that, has a lot to do with like I guess introspection about your own decisions and stuff like
Yeah. Yeah.
that. Like you could choose to be a pacifist, you could choose to fight everybody instead. But even still, like the music really matches the characters well and really matches like the world and like the type of themes that are there. So I think I really like just how things are like tied together.
Yeah. And I think definitely also like thinking about like this is not like a triple A studio game. This is like one guy and his friend. Like,
Yeah,
So
it's
he's
one
like
people's like exactly.
yeah, Toby Fox and the primary artist, her name is Temmie. So him and
Hmm.
Temmie kind of just like duct taped this game together. Like like
Yeah.
the two of them they were cooking. Like they were
Hmm. Yeah,
like
when you're working, sometimes you get some duct tape and you make the Eiffel Tower. I don't
exactly.
know
Yeah.
about that.
Well,
Hmm.
because people are saying like when they went to the code of the game, like it's like it's not great apparently. Like it's like barely held together. But
Yeah, they're trying their best. I mean, honestly, I couldn't. Hmm. Yeah,
but being
it's
able
like
to
what is it
also
like? Literally. Sorry, I was gonna say duct tape, hopes and dreams.
yeah,
So like,
but like being able to make up the story, make up these characters, make the game, and make the soundtrack
hmm,
is nuts.
exactly. Yeah, because you usually have other people making the soundtrack and other
Hmm.
people like doing the code and this, that, and the other for
Right.
us. Like,
Usually these are all separate
they're really like
people.
in like somebody's basement. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's really awesome between like two people to come up with a really interesting um like catalog of stuff. Like it creates like a lot of worlds within like very short songs, which is
Yeah.
really cool. Um, and they all tie together in some way, so that's interesting. And like, yeah, honestly, like very impressive. That's probably what I really mean. Is definitely admirable and impressive to kind of put together um, all of this and be the person who coded and like made the game and just had like a huge inner world enough to make a actual like video game on.
Yeah. Another fun fact about this game is it was given to Pope Francis because it was the year of mercy, and this game's main
That's
theme was mercy.
that's lovely. Oh my goodness. Well, that's really cool. I would have never expected Pope Francis. That wasn't on my bingo card. I was not expecting Pope Francis on my bingo card at all.
That's one of my favorite fun facts was that this game was given to the Pope.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Very cool. I'm sure the Pope was very happy about it. To be real,
Do you think he played it?
that'd be crazy.
That'd be crazy.
He probably did, and probably didn't know entirely what he was doing, but it would be cool if maybe he either played it or watched somebody else play it and thought it was cool. I don't know.
Imagine being in the
I feel like he
Vatican
would have
playing
looked at it.
Undertale.
That would be insane. That would be very funny. Yeah.
That would be very
Um,
funny.
yeah. What a fun thought. Yeah.
Maybe another time we could listen to either Deltarune. So Deltarune is the like other game that's not really a sequel, but it's just like a connected game. And that game's coming out in chapters.
Mm-hmm.
So we are on chapter 4. I believe there's 7
All right.
chapters planned. Um, and each chapter has its own soundtrack, and they're all pretty different. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think we should maybe try and listen to that one next.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. I'm definitely ready for that. Like Deltarune is like spelled like just with the letters in Undertale, but like switched
Yes,
around. Spell that?
yes.
Okay. Oh, okay, okay. I see.
Also,
Is it like an anagram thing?
yes, it's yeah. Deltarune is also the name
Okay,
of
cool.
the symbol in Undertale that Toriel wears. So it's called the Delta Rune,
Oh.
and it represents this like prophecy about
Mm-hmm.
like, and I think there's like an angel, and I don't remember, but it is a symbol that
Mm.
exists in the Undertale universe. And in Deltarune, there's actually like a fictional religion, like an in-game in-world religion based around this prophecy and that symbol.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I'm very excited to then listen to Deltarune and
Yeah.
kind of do the Leonardo DiCaprio like pointing at things if I hear something that's similar.
Yeah, yeah.
Just wanted to say thanks for letting all of my musical yap be part of this video. It was definitely very fun to talk about these really interesting songs.
Yeah, thank you for providing your insight and knowledge. I think it's really fun to hear about
Yeah, no problem.
like music theory because I'm not very well versed in it. Um, I just kind of learned how to play music. I didn't really learn much theory.
Yeah,
But yeah, I never
yeah,
learned much
yeah.
theory, so
I mean,
it's
it was fun to
cool.
hear about like the story and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, thanks for sharing just like all the really interesting like plot lines and stuff like that. I love just seeing how characters and worlds and music kind of tie together. So this was very enjoyable, considering I haven't played the game or really heard the soundtrack. So
Yeah.
yeah, you have a really good introduction to it.
Thank you. And thanks for doing this video with me.